Excellent. Looking forward to our Wednesday/Thursday.
Yeah, Coach, you talked about having identity, the run game and so forth, and then being able to come off of that. Do you have like a load management plan, or is it a hot cold thing with how you'll do the running backs?
No, we've kind of distributed that as we've been going. They've been doing a great job keeping those guys right. Got a lot of, like we talked about, different in the NBA. Our load management happens within practice settings. Less than the games. Like in our practice settings, we manage that with our guys, John Griffin, that whole team, Jake Fowle, all those guys, and our player performance do a great job of managing those guys so we can play them whenever we need to. Those guys obviously have a nice rotation that they have. We got 1A, 1B, 1-1, whatever you want to call those guys that are able to go out there and play halfback for us. So we feel really good about either one of those guys being in on just about anything we do. We've seen Tyler do things we didn't think he can do, and it's pretty fun when he goes out there and does some of the Bijan things by mistake or on purpose, and it's pretty fun to see Tyler get some of those reps, and it's pretty fun to see Bijan do some of the things that we got planned for Tyler as well, so it's pretty cool.
And do you have an update on Mooney, and then who would what does that whole second receiver situation look like?
We've kind of been managing that pretty much the whole time, right? Mooney hurt himself the first, snap at camp. He came back, obviously, and then was able to come out there and play. But Casey Washington's been doing a nice job for us at the X position. Obviously, we had the ability to slide Ray out there and do some of those different things at the X position. Obviously, we got a couple different options of people that can go out there and play some of those things for us, Red, all of those guys. But right now, Mooney is still day-to-day. We'll have to see what that is and where he's going to be. He'll be out today. We'll get a good feel for what it looks like moving forward.
Okay.
We talked a lot about the right tackle position going into the season. I've not talked about it very much over the last 4 weeks because Elijah's done a really good job for y'all.
I'm going to choose not to answer this question because that's how you jinx your tackle. No, I'm just kidding. No, Mark, it's pretty nice, right? It's one of those things where we had an issue come up with our right tackles. Obviously, some big-time injuries to Caleb, to Storm, and all of those type of guys. Obviously, for most people, that creates an immediate panic. Our building did a nice job. Terry and those guys going to accumulate people and acquire people. We were able to get Jarrell off trade. We were able to pick up a bunch of young guys in our practice squad setting. And we had one on the roster who we had a lot of confidence in being able to move outside and play for us as well. At the time, we talked about potential of Bergeron. We talked about Elijah Wilkinson. All of these guys that we had inside of our building. A lot of credit to Led, a lot of credit to Flats, a lot of credit to Nick Jones of having those guys ready to play multiple positions. And he's filled in and done such a nice job. And like we say, when you talk about O-linemen, you're always talking about they're really good when you don't mention them. We haven't.
What is it about Dwayne Ledford and kind of like the system that he's had here for years now that allows him to take a guy who was really like the third string right tackle, right, and make him an above average starter?
I don't know. I hate to call him a third string right tackle. He was a second string guard, realistically, that had the ability to be able to go out there and play out and flex out. I think it's the evaluation that starts with first. I think when we went out and had a chance to acquire him, get him back, I think that was one of the first things brought up of his versatility. So we talked about that ad nauseum, that Led was able to bring to us, having the ability to coach him before he went back out to Arizona and coming back to us. We had him as a young player the first time. I wasn't here, but they had him as a young player, and then having the ability to get him back and see the more mature, grown man version of Elijah that I met, I think has been really cool, really awesome to see that. You got to give those guys a lot of credit for being able to have those guys go out there and teach the system systematically, to be able to go out there and do different things, and those guys have been able to show that they can do that, and it's been fun to watch.
Is the plan still to have AJ back today, and what have you learned about your depth there the last couple of games?
AJ is always great to great back, and he's coming back today. He'll be practicing. He'll be out there again. I feel really good about that moving forward. But it is nice to see guys go out there and have to step up in those games. Whether you're talking about D. Alford, whether you're talking about Clark getting the helmet, one of those games going out there, play, being ready to go, or whether you're talking about Mike Hughes stepping up really in this day and age being considered the number one corner, or whatever it's been. Whatever the rotations has been for those guys to get out there and play for us, it's been really nice to see those guys go out there and fill in all those roles and be ready to go. Mike Ford doesn't get a lot of credit for his defensive prowess, but as the things move around, he was the backup nickel some weeks he's the backup safety, some weeks he's the backup outside corner, and being able to do those things in a practice setting to give us a real feel for it, gives a lot of credit to those guys as well on the back end, whether you're talking about Jerry Gray, Mike Rudenberg, whether you're talking about Lance Schulters, whether you're talking about Hood, those guys have done a nice job of communicating and manipulating our secondary in order to make sure we can fill those holes and those voids.
What do you notice about Jerry Gray? You mentioned him, and a lot of the players I've spoken to have said they really, he just knows what's happening before it even happens, and that helps their process before they take the field. What do you see as a coach when you think about Jerry Gray and how he goes about his
I call him as the players call him. OG has been around a lot of football, and OG has been around long before me, long before a lot of us, and he's been playing in this game for a long time. He's a legend in the game to play. He's a legend at Texas. He's been a legend in coaching. He's been one of those guys that you always looked up to, and finally have an opportunity to coach with him, you acquire all that knowledge from him. Some of it is some stuff that don't even matter what we're doing right now, but he'll bring it up. But he's coached and done a lot of things in his game, and all of those guys got a lot of respect for him, along with our coaches. And when he's talked, he's one of the guys you want to listen to and let him finish his points, because it's going to come up with some type of relevance at some point.
For him to see the success that Bijan's had, where would you say he's taken the biggest strides this year compared to last year and his first year in the offense?
It's hard to say, because last year I thought he was, that was my first year with him, and I thought he was absolutely outstanding then. But I know he made a real effort on his own to be more vocal on the offense side of the ball and more of a leader for those guys. And, he's always led by example, but he's definitely become more of a vocal leader. He's definitely somebody that's able to come to me if he has any issues or he wants to see something or he wants to do something different, whether it be a repeat of a play, whether it be something that he needs tailored to him or somebody else. He's able to speak. He's selfless, so he's able to speak about other people. He's definitely starting to help in that way. He's kind of joining that law firm of Charlie Incorporated. Charlie Warner at the beginning, and Bijan's starting to fill into that role as well. Those guys are they communicate well, and I'm proud of them.
You've already said that you think Bijan is the best player in the league, so I won't ask you if James Cook is a good comparison, but are they similar in terms of being dynamic? And
when I talk about Bijan, it's really my love for Bijan, and I'm not going to pull back on I think he's the best player in the league, 'cause I do. He's unbelievable, and obviously I don't watch it probably like you guys when you talk about every single person, but I'm talking about what he does for us and how important he is to us. I love the guy. James Cook is a phenomenal back. I saw him as a young player, and to watch his maturity and his development as a downhill runner, as an outside runner. He's always had speed. He's always been fast. To watch him get incorporated into the pass game, do different things, very similar like we're talking about with B, has been impressive to watch. He's a very good player. Had a brother in this league for a long time. Has been able to absolutely come in and make his own name.
How has Divine Diablo helped what you guys have been able to accomplish on defense so far?
He's been really a pleasure. He's really been great in everything he's able to do. His presence in the run game, his presence in the pass game, his presence, his calm demeanor, his calming feel. He's smart. He's intelligent. His communication. Is all the things that is absolutely you don't know about a person before you get him, and get him in the building and seeing how calm he is and how easy he takes corrections, or he's able to apply the things that you want to get done as a coach. He's like a coach in the field, and he's standing next to Caden Ellis, who's one of those guys as well. So you got two really smart guys standing next to each other with high intellect in the game and above the neck, guys that can absolutely go out there and get it done for you. So having those two coaches on the field is absolutely awesome. And being able to communicate those guys at a very high level.
What do you feel like is an underrated aspect of Divine?
Wow. I think it was probably the unknown, really. Like you see the athlete, you've seen the physical specimen and what he is, his length and what he plays with. But I think, his general toughness in the box, his ability to get people on the ground, his tackling is special. Rarely misses tackles. I think that length plays a lot of that. But, I don't know if he gets enough credit for being as good a linebacker as he's been in this National Football League.
Anything else?
Yeah, Coach, we didn't even ask you about the reigning MVP. How are you all trying to prepare for Josh Allen?
Man, he's tough to deal with. Obviously, Josh has turned himself into, arguably the best player in the league. And when you go out there and you watch him compete, you know why his teammates love him. You know why his coaches love him. You know why fans love him. I mean, he's fun to watch. He's fun to watch play. He plays the game the right way. He plays with the ultimate toughness. He can run the football. He can make every single throw. He can make the special plays. He can make the simple plays. And he can carry his football team. And everything about playing a team like this goes into absolutely being all coach speak, right? You better play complimentary ball when you try to go beat this kind of a guy and this type of a talent. He's the definition of that. Like when you're talking about a guy like Josh.
Going off of that too, I mean, as a defense, how much does this opportunity prove itself for you guys to go out there and kind of separate the boys from the men, as it's Monday Night Football at home against a Bills offense that's effective and the reigning MVP, and there's an opportunity to show people how far this defense has come along?
Those are always tough questions because everybody's, you know, in my opinion, is like so good. And I get it. Like, you know, when you're in the national media and you're in the media and you got to look at teams, you know, Buffalo has, you know, stood out in a major way. So, like, when you're talking about it in that term, like, it is definitely a challenge for us, you know, but it's something that we embrace. It's something that we love. And, like, going to play all of the teams in the National Football League is definitely an honor, a pleasure for all of us. But, like, you know, these guys are definitely going to present that challenge for us to create the excitement for our fans, create the excitement for you guys.
All right, thanks, y'all.
Thank you guys. It's amazing.